Let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's one approach. I'm here to offer an alternative. Be mindful of the past, but not at the expense of the future. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is The Poison of Nostalgia. My story may not be the best example, but it is the one I know best. As a kid, every time I left a movie theater, I left thinking the same thing. That was the best movie I have ever seen. Every single time, every single movie. It doesn't matter what movie it was, Back to the Future, Karate Kid, Rocky IV, The Never-Ending Story. Every movie was an experience. Every one of them clutched my heart and hijacked my mind. It transported me to that world, into those events for 2 hours, and broke my soul when I was forced to leave the theater to return to my regular life as a human on planet Earth in the age before we invent intergalactic space travel. Similarly, one year my brother and I snuck a look at our presents before Christmas, and there on the top of the pile was the G.I. Joe Sky Striker. It wasn't so much the thought of knowing we were going to own that thing, it was the idea that we were about to experience a paradigm shift in our lives. Yeah, our friends were going to be jealous, especially the ones who wanted a Sky Striker but didn't get one, but it wasn't that. The idea of owning a Sky Striker had seemed impossible right up to the moment that we saw it. The impossible was now reality. Something that I wanted to be, a kid with a Sky Striker, was suddenly something that I was. I look back on that experience now and think about how quaintly wonderful it was to be so excited about something so simple, to remember what it was like to be that fulfilled by something that literally cost my parents $15 in 1983. But that is what nostalgia is. That's what we're all chasing. That one-of-a-kind awe, that love and hope and inspiration that we felt when we first had an experience, in this case, with a brand. That experience sunk those roots deep. And we were too young to notice that those things were designed to find us at that moment to deliver that specific experience and keep us invested in those brands forever. Unique to our moment in history is the idea that we are surrounded by pop culture legacy brands. It's nothing new to sports or the automotive industry. The generational approach to marketing, the lifelong consumer attachment to the brand, is something that has always been there. The idea is to blur the line between the brand and the consumer's identity. Make that brand such a part of who you are and let it shape you, and more importantly, shape your spending habits. Create a bond so strong that the brand is not just something you want to invest in, but something that you are invested in. Star Wars, Transformers, Marvel Comics, Star Trek, Batman, Mario, the Ninja Turtles, they first reached their intended audiences 30 to 40 years ago, but have successfully managed to ride the line through changing demographics to varying degrees of success to remain viable today. The inherent problem with pop culture legacy brands, unlike cars or sports, is that video games, movies, action figures, and comics can't simultaneously engage all demographics with a mainstream mass production product. And the internet, our greatest resource for shared storytelling, for the continuation of legacy brands, is not making things easier. Social media has been designed to create an experience that is individually unique to each of us. Every website, every app utilizing algorithms whose sole purpose is to keep us logged on and engaged with a brand. We're made to believe that the entirety of creative exploits are meant to serve us, the individual. Mine is the only voice, the only opinion that matters in the online world of Dan Larson as currently constituted by my social media platforms. But the brands have to worry about their long-term health. Try as I might, I'm not going to live forever, and my buying habits will adjust over time. Money that I used to spend on toys when I was living with my parents now has to be spent on food and utilities because being an adult sucks. Brands have to engage new customers, but they have to cater that experience to who those new customers are and what the circumstances are around the world that they live in now, not 30 to 40 years ago. They have to cast as wide a net as possible to reach as many potential new lifelong customers. They have to move on from what worked in the past to what could work in the future. That's a hard pill to swallow for those of us who've spent our entire lives with our identities imperceptibly intertwined with the brands that made us so happy when we were 10, when they literally were the coolest and most amazing things we had ever seen in our entire lives. We have to figure out how to open ourselves to the changes instead of obsessing on the back in my day tales that no one wants to hear. The inability to accept change with the things we've loved for so long creates several problems, not the least of which is harmfully exclusionary. There persists an idea that there is not only a certain way that things must be done, but that there is a right way to do something. What is right or good can vary wildly from personal experience to personal experience, and based on nothing more than I was expecting it to be more like the thing that I already like. I would have preferred that a different thing happened. Therefore, the decision you made is creatively bad, and you are a bad creator. Meanwhile, despite all of my harumphing through the 90s and into the 2000s, Lucasfilm continued to make Star Wars prequels, and I steadfastly disagreed with the direction they were taking the franchise. It became clear over time that Lucasfilm wasn't particularly worried about me or the fact that I considered it a challenge to my identity that they weren't making what I thought were good decisions. I considered it a failure of their creative decision-making, while they considered it an enormous success, as the brand had entered a new phase, a new generation of life, and they couldn't figure out where to put all the money. Those movies made a lot of money, and a whole new generation grew up with a Star Wars that was new and different from the Star Wars that I grew up with, but the constant was that they seemed to love Star Wars as much as I did, and my mind expanded and my heart grew 3 times that day. Change is good, change is healthy. You can still love what existed when you were first exposed to it. The thing that exists now does not negate the existence of the thing that was. It's still there. You can still experience it whenever you want. And it's okay that it means something different to you than it does to anyone else. That still belongs to you. But legacy brands have to evolve or die, and if you're going to continue to find enjoyment in them, you have to evolve too. We change as people as we grow, and even though these things are our touchstones, our constants, we have to accept that they are not truly fixed in place for all time, and it is not our job as fans to try to ensure that they are. Not every idea is going to be a success, and there's a lot of hurdles along the creative process. There are a lot of decisions made for a lot of different reasons, not the least of which is, how can we make the most money while spending the least money? And you cannot like the decisions that were made, but remember to try to give the final product a chance, even if it doesn't look, sound, or act the way you remember it from when you first fell in love with it. Don't damn an entire property and the people who worked to create it because a 30-second trailer wasn't what you were expecting or a character doesn't have the right pants on. Remember the past, revere the past, celebrate the past, but don't stop it from moving forward. Remember how you felt when you first found it. It was new and different. If it's going to survive into the future, give it room to be new and different again. Thanks for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and let us know in the comments down below what fandom you wish you could quit so that you could be a happier person. I have a list and I don't know where to start. I will start with A, the Avengers, the Amazing Spider-Man,